such a perfect opportunity. We're hearing more and more. Canada's slowly starting to open. I'm in Calgary, Alberta. We are talking about, we just received notice that we were going to be opening stores next week. And I feel like we're capping off with a little bit of a feather on our cap this week too, with chatting with Jenny Bird. Now, Jenny Bird, as I talked about Monday and Tuesday, one of my favorites, definitely in my top two, three. She founded this beautiful line in 2008. Jenny has a wonderfully intuitive sense of design, and she makes these memorable and bold pieces. So it's no surprise that her statement making line is just this cult favorite for influencers, fashion influencers, and celebrities alike. She currently lives in Toronto with her husband and her two young kids, I believe under 5 years old. We'll have to confirm. So she has gone through the crazy transition that we all have. So I'm so excited to talk to Ms. Jenny Bird this wonderful Friday. Thank you so much. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Kelsey. Nice to be here.
So I have so many questions, and but I'm going to start with the one that everybody always asks, and I'm sure you've answered a ton. Why did you start Jenny Bird? How did that happen?
It's funny. I was just writing about that today. I grew up rurally in a small town, and outside of a small town, actually in the countryside, and I just had essentially the impetus was after following, the respected life path of going to university, business school, and then getting a good job in marketing. I just found myself working in that career, in my mid 20s to late 20s, feeling a little bit, there was something in me that wasn't fulfilled. I knew that I was a great marketer and I was good at branding, but I wanted to create things. And ultimately I wanted to have like control over my destiny, and really love my work. And I just didn't really love it. And I had heard this notion that you could be one person at work and in the rest of your life, and that your work could be a natural extension of who you were, and you could really be in love with it. And you wouldn't. And I thought, oh my God, that's such a beautiful notion. I definitely don't have that now. I want that for my life. So I started to think about what that might be. And I had a love for fashion and accessories and creating from a young age, crafts, etc. So I was more scared of not doing it. I could see the life path that I was on, and it just seemed ordinary and non-fulfilling to me. So that's what pushed me to do it, really. I thought, well, if I can figure this out. I wasn't from fashion, but I knew that I was smart enough to figure out what I didn't know, and I figured I had this great name that was a great brand, and let's give it a go. And that was in 2008 when I started with handbags, and then I eventually went into jewelry. Well, shortly after, went into jewelry, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
And that's so true. And I think that sort of that get up and go and do it is probably, and we'll probably get into that a little bit too, it's probably been served you well, especially these last 6 weeks, because you make things up as you go, right? You just chatted about handbags quickly. Now, I understand you started with handbags. Jewelry wasn't where you started, and you transitioned to jewelry. So how and why did that transition happen?
That it's actually really relevant now to talk about, because that was in the recession, and I had started with handbags similar to what Rebecca Minkoff was doing. So they were like Jenny Bird. Nobody knew of them. It wasn't Gucci or Fendi. Nobody knew the brand, I should say. It was, but they were still, $400, $500 big bags, totes, and then small evening bags were $300, $400. So when the recession hit, I didn't have. I had this idea to be that accessibly priced handbag, which was actually, as we've seen with how Rebecca Minkoff's business has done, a good idea. But during that recession, it was not sustainable. People were, the Fendis were on sale for $500, and I had just put my life savings into my first leather handbag collection, and had a break at a trunk show at Henry Bendel in New York, which was like the place on Fifth Avenue to have a trunk show. It was like a really big break. And that weekend, my parents came down to see the show. It was so exciting. I had done it, right? At least I had a first big win. And the recession hit that weekend. The markets fell, or I should say that Friday. And I thought, oh my God, had these bags that there was no market for. But anyway, how I found jewelry was that I made custom hardware for the bags to make them unique, because I quickly realized in handbag design that the hardware was what made a bag really great. And through that process, I had learned casting, and I was casting like vintage earrings to put on bags. And it was kind of right under my nose. I was basically forced back into a corner of, shut down this dream or do something. And I was at home, and I had realized I'd been collecting vintage jewelry for years. And I thought, well, what if I put that, this lion head that I had cast for the bags, what if I put that on a necklace chain? That would be an amazing chain necklace, something so vintage looking. And so I quickly made a jewelry collection, had a sale on my kitchen table, and I actually found a lot more joy in designing the jewelry. And that sale paid my mortgage for the month. My husband and I had just bought our first property, like a little condo downtown Toronto. And I was just, and then I just like followed that, and look where that pivot has led me, right? Like, it's so interesting that, so I think of that now. I always have that in the back of my mind. Like, jewelry is definitely, it's telling me to proceed right now. It's certainly a natural language for me. However, I will always be open in the future to creating other things if for some reason it becomes like a tough market for jewelry. But I would say that right now we are very excited about how amazing the brand is doing in this time, because it is like lipstick in a hard time, right? It's not a lot of money for a huge pick-me-up when you can spend around $100 on a piece. So it's I'm really grateful, certainly now that we have that pivot happened.
Well, that's so true. And I think what I'm hearing is more, it's the creation piece seems to be the driving force for you, that internal creation. And whether it be handbags or jewelry, it's something that's beautiful, that provides a little bit of joy for people. And then lipstick, I always go back to that, because that, if you were in business school, same as me, is like that lipstick factor, the Revlon factor for this market, that's always driven me. And it still is true. At my worst time, I will throw on the reddest lipstick and use almost like this inverse correlation of how I'm feeling.
Oh, for you wearing I mean, I've actually been wearing lipstick more now than I don't usually wear much makeup, definitely not much on my lips, but I have been wearing it. I put some on for this a little bit. I know it's not very dramatic, but it's definitely helped pick me up too.
Yeah. So one of the questions that we had, and it happened right away, was the inspiration. I mean, you've talked a little bit of where you got some of your inspiration, and I knew about it from your bio, from the way you grew up in nature. If you could talk a little bit about that. But a couple of our customers also wanted to know, how do you keep on getting inspired line after line? So two parts to that question.
It's interesting, because when I had my first really successful collection, I kind of got scared. I was like, oh my God, I have to do that again, but it has to be different. And I think it's really easy and safe to do similar things that have done well in the past. But what I realized quickly is that what made that collection so successful is it was really fresh, and it was really, fresh is the best word. It was new ideas. It was, I equate it to, I always say that I will always Madonna myself season after season. So there'll be that consistency in my tone and in my brand, but it'll be a new exciting album every drop. And that's what I think about for the collections. And unless it is, I don't think it's inspiring enough for people to want to keep buying, and how do I do that? I think I just know I need to, and I'm brave enough to know to just jump off the cliff. It does take bravery and say, okay, I'm going to go this way. Like the studio collection last fall, I was pregnant when I designed it with Georgie, and it was all fluid organic shapes, and it was totally different from the geometric circles and squares I've been doing before. But the main source of confidence for me in those decisions is just inherently knowing in my gut that I'm over that, like just style direction wise, that I'm like, what is making me go, oh my God, I love it. Like, what is making my heart like just like pull towards, like, what do I need to wear now? And I just like follow that. And usually that intuitive sense for me is right on trend. And then I filter it with, how do I make that look JB? And usually filter out some things that are probably too trendy, and because there's a timeless element to what I put out as well. So if something is looking like a really big trend and I don't want to jump on that bandwagon, because the other fashion jewelry companies can do that, there's something enduring about my brand that's really important to maintain. So I think how I do it is I just have the bravery. And inspired wise, nature, yes, I feel like I keep mentally well and spiritually well by spending time in nature. So that's the source for that. But the inspiration in the style direction is really just living my life and being out there and seeing street style. And when we're in New York and when I'm traveling, just seeing what, the fashion insiders are wearing, obviously very accessible on social media now too. Street style, pop culture, music videos, like I just eat all of that stuff up. I think the way that, the culture in general is wearing fashion is always representative of the times. And so my inspiration comes from real life, essentially.
I agree. This is going to be interesting to see what comes out of this COVID too, because I've actually liked fashion the best when it comes out of depressed or economically challenged eras. I love what comes out of that because I think everybody has the allowance to be as creative. And I heard somewhere, actually maybe it was you that said it too. The wonderful thing about this was that no one's judging you right now because everybody's in the same place. And when no one judges you, if you have a little bit of sense of worried about how people think about you, that goes away because you can go, you know what, it's open. We're all in the same place at the same time, and we just have to go for it. And then I love what comes out of that. So I think the creatives are really going to, this is their time, and it should be. So I mean, I'm not going to go into if not this, what, because I feel like you've kind of answered that as well. It's something creative, and you have a business background already, so you're gonna understand how you have to put that forward to the world, and the creation is what fills your soul. But you have a resilience. You've talked about you did this in 2008. You went through recession. You're going through this now. In these past 7 weeks, have you ever felt like hands up? I don't know if I can do this. And if you did feel like that, how did you mentally switch to say, no, I'm in it?
You mean, okay, so there's two
aspects. For this COVID.
There's two aspects of my life for COVID right now. There's am I throwing my hands up about I can't do this with the business or having 2 young kids at home?
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, and we always hear too, I don't know if you live like this, I know I do, is that sometimes there is no separation between business personal. It's very difficult. And now more than ever with COVID, we have physically brought our business into our house in order to survive.
So hard.
So, right?
Yeah, I know. It's so hard. That I would say, to answer your question, Shashi, I would say I am definitely not one. I don't throw my hands up. I don't give up. I just make conscious choices to change if something isn't working for me or my family. What I do is I recognize, and sometimes it takes me a while because I tend to push myself to the limit, but I do recognize when I have done that and I'm exhausted and I need to rest. And I just don't make any decisions in that moment, but I force myself, and it's hard because, I do enjoy what I do, but I force myself to take a break, just to pull away from work and pull away from designing, whether it's that I wear 2 hats at work, so CEO and the creative director. Right now on the creative side, I've just let myself completely leave it. I can't design in this circumstance. On the CEO side, if I get really exhausted from it, which certainly has happened a lot, like a couple of major times. It would happen normally like every few months in normal life, but it's happened like every couple of weeks since the real crisis hit mid-March. Then I just take time away. And I encourage the senior people to do the same. And after I'm rested, if I'm feeling like, if I then am looking at the business going, this isn't working for me, there's something about it that's not working in my life, then I'll make big decisions, but only after I'm rested.
I think that's wonderful advice, because sleep and rest is key.
Yeah. And perspective, right? Like when you're in it and you're feeling totally overwhelmed, there's no good decision that can come of those moments. And that's only learned from, of course, doing it and having made some decisions when I'm not my best or I'm not feeling centered. So my spiritual growth and whatnot in the past year has been to try to be a steady, conscious leader. So try to, like respond instead of react. And so if I find myself unsteady, which is so easy to happen in this environment, I will just pause from emailing or trying to work something forward if I'm just not feeling my best, and I will go retreat to whatever makes me feel steady. And sometimes that's just a warm bath for me. And in Us Weekly, I love my gossip magazines.
Yeah.
Sometimes just a walk outside alone time for me is huge. So I just like grab for one of those life rafts, and everyone's human, like, certainly.
That's, you know what, those are such key things. So there's the rest, and then it's also understanding what fills you, so that when you're taking that rate, you can fill, and you hear it all, fill the bucket, self-love, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of buzzwords around it, but it's just knowing yourself, and then not spending a lot of time there either, because you have to fill up and then you have to move on, because you're leading a lot of people.
Right.
So,
But if you do have to spend more time there, if you're not okay, like, I think understanding when you're off center and you need to steady yourself is really key. Even as a mom, like in those moments when you're just really frustrated and you just want to freak out, feeling feeling your emotions come up and letting them, like, not letting them direct you right away, but like actually observing them as data, like, why am I feeling this way? And my husband and I tell each other, this is a funny story, just breathe and, take some space and walk away if it's like a frustrating moment with the kids. And my son has heard us say that to each other now. So when I was approaching him yesterday, he's like, "Mommy," and I was getting upset that he wasn't listening to me. He's like, "Mommy, just breathe, just breathe."
oh, I love that. It's almost like, oh, I don't know if I need you to push back my words right now, but
Yeah,
and at the same time, there's a secret happiness that,
exactly. Yeah.
So you, with opening, we in Calgary, we have been given the go ahead to open, which
Awesome.
means one thing, but as a business owner, I'm not necessarily, just because the government says, it's not a mandate.
Yeah.
Has suggested that we're opening.
Yeah.
It's more about team and safety, and there's just so much to go with opening. You have a store in Toronto as well. How
Yeah, we do.
will that look for you?
Luckily, it's a little bit less pressure on my side because it's not retail grade rent. It is like just a little space in the front of our head office that we've kept for by appointment only shoppers. So just the model of that is a lot easier, right, than having unexpected traffic in off the street at this point. So I think, obviously team safety first. Like I think our team will largely be remote up until September, with like small, maybe our one or two people coming into the studio as it's safe between now and then. I don't imagine hosting a big retail, like we did like some events where we'd have like 30, 40 people in the shop. That will probably obviously have to wait till more like holiday time frame. And in the meantime, when it's safe, we'll probably open up for by appointment one shopper only. And we'll have to like look at our safety protocol and our masks and our gloves and whatnot. But I do lean on the side of like total precaution. I would never want, like, just imagine if like anyone came in and got a staff member of mine sick, or like, it's different for me going in. I have to go in and get the mail, and water the plants and just make sure that the space is okay. So I think we'll just be extra cautious, and we'll do by appointment when we feel really confident with what the numbers are showing in Ontario and in our city. Digitally, we are starting to offer like virtual styling appointments, and everything is available on our site. So we'll be okay now.
Good. And so what is the climate just generally in Toronto around retail and people going out and comfort levels? Do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, it's the city is fairly committed. I went down to our studio to do that, to get the mail and water the plants yesterday, and there was a bit of traffic on Spadina, largely like delivery vehicles, and you could see a couple of people that looked like, essential services staff members. But it's kind of become the new norm, really. Yeah. Sleepy streets and lots of content being digested at night, lots of people sharing their Netflix favorites and whatnot. But yeah. It feels like we're all very happy that we're not New York, and there's a big trepidation around traveling and air travel again.
Right.
Even my friend who came by today, he's like, "So, do you think we're going to go to, Florida together with our families and later in this year?" I was like, "I don't know."
Yeah, it's interesting. I know
Yeah.
everything is day by day, and it also feels like we joke around about it within our team. Is like a COVID day. A COVID days actually feels like a month. Like with the stuff that we get done, and like you talked about content digesting
Mhm.
and just where. But yeah, it will be interesting to see even the next month what happens. So I know I'm always aware of time, and again, I talk to these amazing. This has been such a beautiful opportunity to talk to the designers that we've had in our stores, and I want to ask this though because
Yeah.
I've learned as much from this question is if you could give yourself a couple of pieces of advice, your younger self, what would those be? Knowing
Mm.
that you've learned up until this point, what would you wish you could have told yourself 10 years
Mm.
when you
The
were starting?
kids are actually a beautiful thing. I wasn't sure if I'd want kids. So I actually didn't have children till later in life. Um, and then it was amazing. So I would say, uh, I would tell myself to just lose any. I don't know why. Maybe I was I was impartial, I guess. But it's been a beautiful, beautiful experience, of course. I would say that, and I would say um, to believe, and I always did, but even more, I would like just really validate with myself to believe in the power of my dreams, because it's what I didn't know is how much the universe like aligns around you when you walk towards a path that is, heart led.
Yes.
And it's just been incredible, like moment after moment, to see um, how much support just the universe like provides you, whether it's people you meet that can help you along the way. This is if you're open to share what you're trying to build and what you're trying to do. I didn't know that there was that magic out there. I knew that it was going to take a lot of hard work, and I was determined to do it. But that was just a really nice surprise. I read The Secret and all of those books and and the law of attraction early on in building the company. And then to actually see it come to life has been incredible and just so rewarding. So I feel like the sky's the limit now. I love, there was nothing about me that would make Jenny Bird more successful than anybody else. I'm not from fashion or a super well connected family or a lot of wealth at all. Like, it was just hard work and hustle and teaching myself and knocking on the door, as I like to think about it, of the fashion industry to that was just a big mystery to me, and just working myself in there and creating this brand has just been a really rewarding experience. I think I would just tell myself to just never like doubt it, or even to consider it maybe earlier in life. Although it worked out great for when I did do it. I worked in my marketing career for about 10 years before I did Jenny Bird.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I, for one, am so happy. You're talking about your organic shapes. My D necklace that I think was
Yeah.
from your keys
And what's
when you
that
had,
one with it?
pardon me.
What is that one you have with it?
I have your Walter chain, which I never take off pretty much. I think the last two times I talked to you. Yeah, so I've got my D and then my Juno earrings.
Oh yeah.
The Huggies. I'm not a big I have jewelry stores, but I'm not a big jewelry person. So yours jewelry always makes me feel like I am totally glam without big
I'm
fat
so glad.
statements. So I love it. But I just want to thank you so much for opening up and letting us into your world just a little bit. And if there's anything obviously that you want to finish off with, please let us know. And I look forward. Oh, actually, I do want to ask you one thing. Annie, can you give us a little sneak peek about fall?
Yeah, I
Or
was going to say, I think you're probably going to get asked what I'm wearing, right? Because that happens.
yes.
So I'll tell you guys so you know what to inquire about. These are just dropping, so these are actually not on our site until in a couple of weeks, but they are made available now for our stores. So it's just so you guys know what I'm wearing. This is the Walter, as we both have. I actually wear the Walter a lot alone, right? Like, these are trying to do this look. Like that's really chic on its own.
Yes.
But I just made these layering chains because I realized that I didn't have them for myself in my closet. That's what I do. I play in my jewelry, and then if I'm missing a piece, I'll like design it into the line. So this is this like it's about 5 millimeters thick. It's a snake chain. It's called the Priya chain.
Lovely. And what is that? Is that like a 16-inch or a 17?
16-inch, yeah.
16-inch,
and the Malia chain, which you can see the little twinkles in it. It's like got little stamping.
Yeah.
And then I have the Cala drop. Oh, this way, Cala drop there, which I love. These are like these pretty little nuggets.
Right. And that has the mother of pearl inset, right? The Cala drops. Yeah. Okay.
This is the snake chain up close. It's really good.
Beautiful.
I mean, this is very 70s, right? Like these chains were like omnipresent then, and they're just a staple of jewelry. They're like a t-shirt. Like you just wear them with everything. And then on this side, I have the Juno 2.
Yeah.
And then today what I did is this is our Scylla ear cuffs. This is the big one, and these just pinch. You don't need a piercing. So just a second, I pinched it. And you can open it, take it off. So the little one is across the side.
Uh-huh.
And then
cool. Okay.
the big one, which you can also put on like I did and let it just hang down.
Yeah.
But it's also a really nice ring, which I'll show you.
Oh, smart. And well, I love it because that's what's really talking about magazines. Everything is all about the ear party that's happening.
Yeah. Totally. And that's you can't really see. There we go. Oh, yeah. There. So this is the ear cuff as a ring, the Aura ring, and then the D signet, which I every day I have this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the new things are the Malia chain and the Priya chain that you'll see in our wholesale. We have to send you.
Yes, please. I'm excited about that because I can already see. I'm just loving that because that's really what I'm going to be probably rocking next. So
this one in particular, this little dainty one, is really great too because you can get it in silver. Let's say you wear gold, but you want to, like I have some silver rings on this hand. I want to integrate. So it's a good idea to do a little whisper of silver with your gold, and then it gives you permission to mix in silver other places. So I've been doing this one a lot with silver, and then with this one with the gold with it, and then it just like it just is your foundation to two-tone everywhere else, you know? Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, Jenny, thank you. I know you've got 2 kids that are probably wanting your attention.
Yeah,
at a locked door, but I so appreciate, and I am going to take those pieces of advice. I hope that everybody else that's listening kind of heard it, but I really resonated with get some sleep, and if you're not at what you feel is your best, walk away a little bit and make a decision after, because especially the next couple of weeks, we're all going to be in pretty trying situations, and
totally.
Reminder.
And I wish you guys the best out there with reopening, and and however it works for you, and just a prosperous next few months overall.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot soon, hopefully. So have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, you too.